The spaceship Odyssey 7 shook violently as it approached the moon. Inside, Captain Sarah Chen gripped her seat, her knuckles white. She looked at her crew, Mike, Yuki, and Omar, their faces tense with worry. "Status report," Sarah shouted over the blaring alarms. Mike, the engineer, frantically tapped at his console. "It's bad, Captain. The main engine is failing. We're losing power fast." Yuki, the pilot, struggled with the controls. Her usually calm voice trembled. "I can't stabilize the ship. We're being pulled towards the moon's surface." Omar, the science officer, checked his readings. "Impact in 10 minutes if we don't do something." Sarah's mind raced. They were supposed to be the first humans to set up a permanent moon base. Now they might become the first humans to die on the moon. She took a deep breath and focused. "Okay, team. We trained for this. Mike, reroute all power to the emergency thrusters. Yuki, aim for the flattest area you can find. Omar, secure all loose items and prepare for impact." The crew sprang into action. Mike's fingers flew over his keyboard, redirecting power. Yuki scanned the approaching lunar landscape, looking for a safe landing spot. Omar rushed through the cabin, strapping down equipment. The ship continued to descend rapidly. Through the view screen, the gray, cratered surface of the moon grew larger and larger. Sarah could now see individual rocks and dust clouds. 2 minutes to impact," Omar called out. Sarah activated the ship-wide comm. "All crew, brace for emergency landing. This is not a drill. I repeat, this is not a drill." Yuki's voice was strained but determined. "I found a relatively flat area. It's our best shot." "Take us in, Yuki," Sarah ordered. The ship groaned and creaked as Yuki maneuvered it towards the chosen landing site. The emergency thrusters fired, slowing their descent, but not enough to prevent a crash. 30 seconds, Omar shouted. Sarah looked at her crew one last time. Despite their fear, she saw determination in their eyes. They were the best Earth had to offer, and they would face this together. "Brace for impact," Sarah yelled. The next few moments were chaos. The ship hit the lunar surface with a tremendous jolt. Metal screeched and bent. Sparks flew from consoles. The crew was thrown against their restraints. Then, suddenly, everything was still. For a moment, only the hiss of leaking air and the crackle of damaged electronics broke the silence. Slowly, Sarah opened her eyes. A thin layer of moon dust floated in the air, illuminated by flickering emergency lights. "Sound off," she croaked. "Is everyone okay?" "I'm here," Mike groaned. "Bruised, but alive." "Present," Yuki said weakly. "The controls are toast, though." "Still breathing," Omar coughed. "But we've got multiple hull breaches." Sarah unstrapped herself, wincing at her sore muscles. She floated in the low gravity towards the main view screen, now cracked but still partially functioning. Outside, she saw a barren gray landscape stretching to the horizon. The Earth hung in the black sky, a beautiful blue marble. Under different circumstances, it would have been breathtaking. "Okay, team," Sarah said, turning back to her crew. "We're alive, but we're in trouble. Our ship is damaged, we're stranded on the moon, and no one on Earth knows we've crashed." She paused, letting the gravity of the situation sink in. Then she continued, her voice firm and determined. "But we're not giving up. We're going to assess the damage, salvage what we can, and find a way to contact Earth. We're astronauts, and we've trained for the unexpected. This is just another problem to solve." The crew nodded, drawing strength from their captain's words. "Mike, check our power systems. Yuki, see if you can get any communications working. Omar, take stock of our supplies and patch up those hull breaches. I'll help where needed. Let's move, people." As the crew set to work, Sarah allowed herself one last look at the Earth through the cracked view screen. Help was 384,400 kilometers away. Their situation was dire, but they were still alive. And where there's life, there's hope. Little did they know, hope would come from an unexpected source, far beyond their home planet. Hours passed since the Odyssey 7 crashed on the moon. The initial shock had worn off, replaced by a grim determination to survive. Captain Sarah Chen wiped sweat from her brow as she helped Mike seal another crack in the hull. "That should hold for now," Mike said, his voice muffled by his spacesuit. "But we're running out of patching material." Sarah nodded, conserving her oxygen by not speaking. They had all switched to their emergency suits shortly after the crash. The ship's life support was badly damaged, and the air was leaking faster than they could repair. Yuki floated over to them, a tablet in her gloved hand. "Captain, I've finished the communications check. It's not good. Our long-range transmitter is completely fried. We can't contact Earth." Sarah's heart sank, but she kept her face neutral. "What about short range?" "It's working, but barely. We might be able to boost the signal, but it won't reach far beyond the moon's surface." "Keep working on it," Sarah ordered. "Any signal is better than none." Omar called from the supply room, his voice crackling over the suit radio. "Captain, you need to see this." Sarah made her way to the back of the ship, pushing off walls in the low gravity. She found Omar surrounded by open storage containers. "What's the situation?" she asked. Omar's face was grim behind his helmet visor. "We have food and water for about 2 weeks if we ration carefully. The bigger problem is oxygen. Even with the emergency supplies, we only have enough for 5 days, maybe 6 if we're extremely careful." Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. 5 days. They had 5 days to either fix their ship or be rescued, or they would suffocate on the moon's surface. "Understood," she said, keeping her voice steady. "We'll need to minimize physical activity to conserve oxygen. Let's gather everyone for a status update." Soon, the crew was assembled in what was left of the command center. Sarah looked at each of them. Mike, the practical engineer; Yuki, the skilled pilot; and Omar, the meticulous scientist. Despite the dire situation, she felt a surge of pride. They were the best Earth had to offer. "All right, team," Sarah began. "Here's where we stand. Our ship is damaged beyond our ability to fully repair. We can't contact Earth. We have limited supplies, especially oxygen." She paused, letting the information sink in. "But we're not beaten yet. We have our skills, our training, and each other. We're going to focus on 3 priorities: boosting our communication signal, conserving our resources, and exploring our immediate area for anything that might help us." The crew nodded, their faces set with determination. "Yuki, keep working on that signal booster. Mike, see if you can rig up some kind of solar power system to extend our electrical supply. Omar, you and I will take turns doing surface reconnaissance. We need to know what's out there." As they dispersed to their tasks, Sarah suited up for the first recon mission. She cycled through the airlock and stepped onto the lunar surface. The stark beauty of the landscape took her breath away. Countless stars shone in the black sky, unobscured by atmosphere. The Earth hung above, a blue jewel in the darkness. Sarah activated her suit's scanner and began a careful survey of the area around the ship. The crash had scattered debris over a wide area. She noted several larger pieces that might be salvageable. As she worked, a glint of light caught her eye. At first, she thought it was just sunlight reflecting off a piece of the ship. But as she looked closer, she realized it was coming from behind a nearby hill. Sarah's heart raced. That light shouldn't be there. There were no other missions to this part of the moon. No one else should be here. She raised her hand to her helmet, activating her radio. "Team, this is the captain. I found something strange out here. I'm going to investigate." As Sarah made her way towards the mysterious light, she couldn't shake the feeling that everything was about to change. Little did she know just how right she was. Sarah's heart pounded as she approached the source of the strange light. She moved carefully over the lunar surface, her boots leaving prints in the gray dust. As she reached the top of the small hill, she froze in disbelief. In the crater below sat a sleek, silver object. It was unlike any spacecraft Sarah had ever seen. Its surface was smooth, with no visible seams or rivets. A soft blue light pulsed along its sides. "Team," Sarah whispered into her radio, "you're not going to believe this. I think I've found an alien ship." Static crackled for a moment before Mike's voice came through. "Captain, did you say alien ship? Are you sure?" "Positive," Sarah replied, her eyes fixed on the otherworldly craft. "It's like nothing we've ever built, and it's active." Suddenly, a section of the ship's hull seemed to melt away, forming an opening. Sarah tensed, her hand instinctively reaching for the emergency beacon on her suit. Then a figure emerged. It was tall and slender, its body covered in what looked like shimmering scales. Its head was oval-shaped with large almond-shaped eyes that reflected the starlight. The alien moved with a fluid grace that seemed impossible in the low gravity. Sarah stood frozen, torn between fear and fascination. The alien turned its head, its gaze locking onto her. For a long moment, they stared at each other across the lunar landscape. Then, to Sarah's amazement, the alien raised a hand in what seemed to be a universal gesture of greeting. Sarah's training kicked in. First contact. This was what they had prepared for, even if they never truly believed it would happen. Slowly, carefully, she raised her own hand in response. The alien's mouth, or what Sarah assumed was its mouth, curved into what might have been a smile. It gestured towards Sarah, then back to its ship. I think it wants me to come closer," Sarah said into her radio. "Captain, be careful," Yuki's worried voice came through. "We don't know anything about them." "I know," Sarah replied, "but this might be our only chance at rescue." "I'm going to approach." Step by careful step, Sarah made her way down the crater towards the alien and its ship. As she got closer, she could see more details. The alien's scales weren't just shimmering. They were changing color slightly, rippling with shades of blue and green. When Sarah was just a few meters away, the alien spoke. The sound was like nothing she had ever heard. A mixture of clicks, whistles, and melodic tones. Of course, she couldn't understand a word. Sarah pointed to herself. "Sarah," she said clearly. Then she gestured to the alien. The alien seemed to understand. It placed a hand on its chest and made a sound that was something like Zixnar. Sarah nodded, then pointed to her ship in the distance. "Help," she said, trying to convey her meaning through gestures. "We need help." Zixnar tilted its head, seeming to consider. Then it nodded and gestured towards its ship again. Just then, Sarah's radio crackled to life. "Captain." It was Omar, his voice urgent. "Our oxygen levels are dropping faster than we thought. We've sprung a new leak. We might only have a few hours left." Sarah's blood ran cold. She looked at Zixnar, then back at the Odyssey 7 in the distance. Her crew was dying, and their only hope was this alien being she had just met. She turned back to Zixnar and pointed urgently towards her ship. "Please," she said, knowing the alien couldn't understand her words, but hoping it would sense her desperation. "My friends, they're dying. We need your help now." Zixnar looked at Sarah, then at the distant human ship. It made a series of rapid clicks and whistles. The opening in its ship widened. Sarah held her breath. Everything, her life, her crew's lives, perhaps the future of human-alien relations, hung on what would happen next. Zixnar extended a hand towards Sarah, its meaning clear even across the gulf of species. "Come with me." Sarah hesitated for only a moment before taking Zixnar's outstretched hand. The alien's touch was surprisingly warm through her spacesuit glove. With a gentle tug, Zixnar led her towards the shimmering spacecraft. "Team," Sarah spoke into her radio, "I'm entering the alien ship. If I don't come back, know that it's been an honor serving with you all." As they approached the opening, Sarah braced herself for a complex airlock system. Instead, she and Zixnar simply walked through what felt like a curtain of warm water. Instantly, they were inside. Sarah gasped. The interior was a stark contrast to the utilitarian design of human spacecraft. Smooth, curving walls pulsed with soft light. What looked like control panels floated in midair, responding to Zixnar's quick gestures. Zixnar made a series of clicks and whistles. Suddenly, a shimmering field surrounded Sarah. For a terrifying moment, she thought she was being trapped. Then, to her amazement, her spacesuit began to feel lighter. A display on her wrist showed rising oxygen levels. It's replenishing my air supply, Sarah realized aloud. Zixnar nodded, then pointed to a large screen that had materialized on the wall. It showed a clear image of the crashed Odyssey 7. 3 blinking dots inside the ship likely represented her crew. Sarah pointed urgently at the screen. Yes, my friends. They need help. Can you save them? The alien tilted its head, seeming to consider. Then it made a sweeping gesture with its arm. The ship hummed to life, and Sarah felt a slight movement. Outside the ship's seamless walls, which had become transparent, Sarah could see the lunar landscape sliding by. In moments, they were hovering over the Odyssey 7. Zixnar touched a floating panel, and a beam of blue light engulfed the human ship. Sarah watched in awe as the damaged hull began to seal itself, cracks disappearing as if they had never existed. Inside the Odyssey 7, Mike, Yuki, and Omar stared in disbelief as their ship repaired itself around them. Oxygen levels began to rise, and the emergency alarms fell silent. "What's happening?" Yuki whispered. "It must be the captain," Mike replied, his voice filled with wonder. "She's found help." Back in the alien craft, Sarah turned to Zixnar, her eyes brimming with grateful tears. "Thank you," she said, knowing the words were inadequate, but hoping her tone conveyed her feelings. Zixnar made a sound that Sarah could have sworn was a chuckle. Then, with a few more gestures, a door appeared in the ship's wall. Beyond it, Sarah could see the interior of the Odyssey 7. Taking a deep breath, Sarah stepped through. She found herself back in her own ship, surrounded by her stunned crew. "Captain," Omar exclaimed. "How? What?" Sarah smiled. "It's okay. We're safe now. Our new friend out there." She gestured to the alien ship visible through the Odyssey 7's viewport. "Has some pretty impressive technology." As if on cue, Zixnar appeared in the doorway between the two ships. The human crew fell silent, staring in amazement at the alien being. Sarah turned to her team. "Everyone, I'd like you to meet Zixnar. Zixnar, this is my crew. Mike, Yuki, and Omar." Zixnar raised a hand in the same greeting gesture it had used with Sarah. After a moment of hesitation, the humans returned the gesture. "Captain," Mike said, his voice low, "what happens now?" Sarah looked from her crew to Zixnar and back again. "Now," she said, "we make history. The first official contact between humans and an alien species." Zixnar made a series of musical sounds and gestured towards its ship. Sarah nodded, understanding the invitation. "And I think," she added with a smile, "we're about to go on one amazing journey." As the humans prepared to board the alien craft, Sarah couldn't help but feel a mix of excitement and trepidation. They had come to the moon to start a new chapter in human exploration. Instead, they were about to begin an entirely new book in the story of their species. The universe, it seemed, was far more wonderful and strange than they had ever imagined. And they were just at the beginning of discovering its wonders. The human crew stood in awe as they entered Zixnar's ship. Their eyes darted from the pulsing walls to the floating control panels, trying to take in every detail of the alien technology. "This is incredible," Yuki whispered, her hand hovering near a glowing orb that seemed to be a navigation device. Mike ran his fingers along a smooth wall. "I can't even begin to understand how this works," he admitted, a mix of frustration and excitement in his voice. Omar had already pulled out a small device and was frantically taking readings. "The energy readings are off the charts," he reported. This ship is powered by something far beyond our current understanding of physics. Sarah watched her crew with a smile, then turned to Zixnar. The alien was observing them with what seemed to be curiosity, its large eyes blinking slowly. Suddenly, a holographic display appeared in the center of the room. It showed a 3D map of the solar system, with Earth and the Moon clearly visible. Zixnar pointed to Earth, then to the humans, its head tilted in question. Yes, Sarah nodded. That's our home. Earth. Zixnar made a series of clicks and whistles. Then, to everyone's surprise, a mechanical voice spoke in English. Home. Far. The humans exchanged shocked glances. It's learning our language, Omar said in amazement. Zixnar pointed to itself, then to a star system far from Earth on the holographic map. Zixnar. Home. Sarah stepped forward, her scientific curiosity overcoming her initial shock. Can you show us more about your home? She asked carefully, pointing to the distant star system. The hologram zoomed in on Zixnar's home system. The humans gasped as they saw a beautiful planet with 3 moons and rings similar to Saturn's. Zixnar made a sweeping gesture, and the hologram showed cities unlike anything on Earth, structures that seemed to grow from the ground, vehicles that flew without wings, and beings of various shapes and colors going about their daily lives. It's a whole civilization, Mike breathed. Advanced beyond our wildest dreams. As they watched, Zixnar began to explain using a mixture of gestures and the simple English words it was rapidly learning. The mechanical voice translated. Zixnar. Explorer. Find new life. New friends. Sarah nodded in understanding. Just like us, she said. We came to the moon to explore, to learn. Zixnar's scales rippled with colors that seemed to express agreement. Then it pointed to the humans and made an inviting gesture towards the ship's controls. I think, Yuki said slowly, it wants to teach us how to use the ship. Over the next few hours, Zixnar patiently showed the humans the basics of operating its advanced technology. The crew was quick to learn, their years of training allowing them to adapt to the alien systems with surprising speed. As they worked, they also began to communicate more effectively. Zixnar's translation device improved rapidly, learning from every interaction. The humans shared stories about Earth, explaining their mission and the long history of human space exploration. In return, Zixnar told them about its own world and the vast galactic community it was part of. The humans were stunned to learn that there were hundreds of intelligent species spread across the Milky Way, forming a loose confederation of spacefaring civilizations. Why haven't they contacted us before? Omar asked. Zixnar's reply was simple. Young species, not ready. But now you come to stars. Time to meet. As the impromptu cultural exchange continued, Sarah felt a growing sense of excitement and responsibility. They weren't just moon explorers anymore. They had become humanity's first ambassadors to a larger galactic community. What happens next? Sarah asked Zixnar as their lesson drew to a close. The alien's response filled them all with a mix of anticipation and nervousness. You choose. Return Earth, share discovery, or Zixnar gestured to the star map, which now showed countless inhabited worlds. Explore galaxy. The humans looked at each other, the weight of the decision heavy on their shoulders. They had come to the moon seeking adventure and discovery. Now, the entire universe was opening up before them. Whatever they decided, they knew their lives, and the future of humanity, would never be the same. The human crew huddled together, their voices low as they discussed their options. The decision before them was monumental. Return to Earth with news that would change human history forever, or embark on a journey beyond their wildest dreams. We have a duty to report back, Mike argued, always the practical one. Earth needs to know about this. Yuki shook her head. But think of what we could learn out there, she said, gesturing to the star map. We'd be the first humans to see these worlds. Omar looked torn. Both options have merit. The scientific discoveries we could make are incredible, but so is the importance of preparing Earth for this new reality. They all turned to Sarah, waiting for their captain's input. She took a deep breath, considering their situation carefully. "We don't have to choose," she said finally. "We can do both." She turned to Zixnar, who had been waiting patiently. "Can we send a message to Earth from your ship, to let them know we're safe and what we've discovered?" Zixnar nodded, its scales shimmering with what seemed like approval. With a few gestures, a communication panel appeared. "Send message. Fast. Secure," the translator voiced. Sarah quickly composed a message, explaining their encounter with Zixnar and the existence of the galactic community. She emphasized that they were safe and had been treated with kindness, but that they had decided to continue their mission of exploration. She promised regular updates as they traveled. As the message was sent, Sarah felt a weight lift from her shoulders. They had fulfilled their duty to inform Earth, but they were free to explore. "All right, team," she said, turning to her crew with a smile. "Let's see what's out there." Zixnar seemed pleased with their decision. It gestured to the star map, highlighting several nearby systems. Many worlds, many species. Where first? The humans gathered around the map, their eyes wide with excitement. They chose a system not too far away, close enough for comfort, but far enough to be a true adventure. As Zixnar set the course, the humans felt the ship hum to life. Through the transparent walls, they watched as the moon, and then Earth grew smaller and smaller. In a blink, faster than they thought possible, they were beyond the solar system. The journey was unlike anything they had experienced. They traveled through space in ways that defied their understanding of physics. Stars streaked by in colorful blurs, and yet they felt no motion at all inside the ship. During the trip, Zixnar taught them more about the ship and the galactic community they were about to enter. They learned about the different species they might encounter, basic protocols for first contact situations, and even some common galactic languages. Prepared. Important, Zixnar explained. Galaxy big. Many surprises. As they approached their destination, excitement and nervousness filled the air. The ship slowed, and suddenly, a new world filled their view. It was beautiful, a swirling marble of blues, greens, and purples. Two suns shone in the sky, casting a golden glow over everything. Habitable, Zixnar announced. Life, civilization, early stage. Sarah turned to her crew, her eyes shining with excitement. "Remember your training," she said. "We're explorers, but we're also representatives of Earth now. Let's make a good first impression." As they prepared to descend to the planet's surface, Sarah couldn't help but reflect on how far they'd come. They had left Earth as moon explorers, and were now about to set foot on an alien world, guided by a new alien friend. Whatever challenges lay ahead, Sarah knew one thing for certain. Their greatest adventure was just beginning. As the ship began its descent, she squared her shoulders and smiled. They were ready to face the unknown, to learn, to grow, and to show the best of what humanity had to offer to the galaxy at large. The universe, vast and mysterious, awaited them. As Zixnar's ship descended through the alien planet's atmosphere, the human crew pressed against the transparent walls, their eyes wide with wonder. The landscape below was a tapestry of colors they had never seen before. Forests of silver-leaved trees, fields of what looked like purple grass, and oceans that shimmered with a golden hue. "It's beautiful," Yuki whispered, her voice filled with awe. Omar was busy taking readings on his devices. "The atmosphere is breathable," he announced. "Gravity is slightly less than Earth's. Temperature is perfect." The ship touched down in a clearing near what appeared to be a settlement. As the doors opened, the humans took their first breath of alien air. It was sweet and crisp, like nothing they had ever experienced. Zixnar led them out, its scales changing color to match the purple grass beneath their feet. In the distance, They could see movement. The planet's inhabitants were approaching. Remember, Sarah cautioned her team, we're ambassadors now. Let's show them the best of humanity. The alien beings that emerged from the tree line were unlike anything the humans had imagined. They were tall and slender, with iridescent skin that seemed to change color with their movements. Their eyes were large and multifaceted, like those of Earth insects, but filled with unmistakable intelligence. Zixnar stepped forward, making a series of melodic sounds. The planet's inhabitants responded in kind. Then, to the humans' surprise, one of the aliens approached them and spoke in halting English. "Welcome to Luria," it said, the words clearly unfamiliar but carefully pronounced. "We learn your words from Galactic Database." Sarah stepped forward, her heart pounding with excitement. "Thank you for your welcome," she said slowly and clearly. "We come in peace, seeking friendship and knowledge." The next few hours were a whirlwind of new experiences. The Lurians, as they called themselves, were eager to show the humans their world. They toured the settlement, marveling at the organic architecture that seemed to grow from the ground itself. They tasted strange but delicious fruits and witnessed technology that blended seamlessly with nature. As the twin suns began to set, casting the world in a spectacular display of colors, the humans gathered with their new alien friends around a glowing crystal that served as both light and heat source. "This is incredible," Mike said, looking around at his crewmates. "Just think, a few days ago, we thought we were going to die on the moon. Now we're sitting on an alien world, making first contact." Omar nodded, his scientific mind racing with all he had learned. "The advancements we could make, the knowledge we could gain, it's beyond anything I could have imagined." Yuki smiled, her eyes reflecting the crystal's glow. "And this is just the beginning. There's a whole galaxy out there waiting for us to explore." Sarah looked at her team with pride, then at Zixnar with gratitude. "We've been given an incredible opportunity," she said. "We're not just explorers anymore. We're bridges between worlds, between civilizations." As if on cue, Sarah's communication device beeped. It was a message from Earth, the first response to their earlier transmission. With shaking hands, she opened it. The message was brief but clear. Message received. World in shock. Governments convening. Return home immediately for debrief. Sarah shared the message with her crew. They looked at each other, then at the alien world around them, conflicting emotions on their faces. "What do we do, Captain?" Mike asked. Sarah stood, looking out at the alien landscape, then up at the star-filled sky. She thought about their journey, the friends they had made, and the wonders they had seen. Then she thought about Earth, their home, now faced with the reality of a larger universe. With a deep breath, she turned to her crew, her decision made. "We go home," she said firmly. "We tell our story. We prepare humanity for what's out there." She looked at Zixnar and the Lurians. And then, she added with a smile, "We come back. Because this is just the beginning of humanity's greatest adventure." As her team nodded in agreement, Sarah felt a surge of excitement. They had come to the moon seeking to push the boundaries of human exploration. Instead, they had pushed open the doors to the entire universe. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together, not just as a crew, but as representatives of humanity in a vast and wondrous galaxy. The journey home beckoned, but they knew it was just another step in their cosmic odyssey. The stars, infinite and inviting, awaited their return.